How you doing? My name is Arnold Hall here at Jones Technical Institute, and today I'm going to be performing a minor inspection on this truck. So basically what a minor inspection is basically a visual and whatever needs to be made attention to the driver or whoever, or operator, or whoever owns the vehicle, let them know before you sign off on having this vehicle as serviceable. And if anything that is not serviceable, we will not permit the vehicle from going ahead and traveling on the road. So some of the common things that we want to check is just all the critical components. We have a lot of critical components on the truck, and I'm going to go over some of them here. And we've got the hood down. We're just looking at a visual, just going around doing a 360 of the truck and looking at different things that might be out of place. Something might be broken, something might be missing, okay? Something might be worn out. We have grease points that we have to hit, okay? We have to check for our cables, our air tanks, if accessible. We have to check our suspension components, tire and tread depth, okay? We will check brake drums. We will check the air system if equipped. Okay, so we have many factors that we need to check. So we have a truck here that's on the lift currently, and I'm looking over here in the engine bay, and I'm looking for any leaks. This is the suspension area right here. Down underneath here is most common issues that we have is what is called the kingpin. Sometimes there'll be a mistake where you have a kingpin or a bearing issue. Okay, we need to decipher the difference between those, and if we have excessive play in those, we want to stay in between 1 and 5 thousandths. If we go beyond that, we need to be out of service, and depending on how long the haul is, we will take the truck out of service. You will come over here to the steering arm and the pitman arm here, and we will check those, just make sure they're not loose, nothing's bent. The grease points, you have grease points underneath here. That kingpin also has a grease point under here. We're looking at the engine bay here, looking for anything that might be out of place. Looking for anything that might be leaking. We're looking at the engine here, any leaks. Okay. So we're gonna come over here and make attention to the tire. We're gonna check the tread depth. Coming in and looking at the actual wheel itself, and we see we got a lot of rust here on this wheel, and we would actually place this out of service because we actually have one here that's missing a lug nut. These lug nuts are out of service as well too. We would check our seal here. That is an oiled seal here. Some of them are, this is a grease seal. Some of them are a oil seal, but this particular one here has to be greased. So we remove those bolts and grease on the inside of that. But this is not even in service. This whole wheel needs to be replaced. Okay, and we look like what we have here. We actually have a pad. We have pad brakes here, so we would check those to see if those inspect. And we look like we got a heavily corroded rotor here, so that would probably be out of spec as well too. So we make our way over here to the battery. We're looking at the battery. We will need to check those by isolating each battery. We will check our connections to make sure they're all running operable, and looking at our fuel tank, making sure our fuel tank is not leaking. And the minimum tread depth for the front and back, the front would be 4 30 seconds, and the back would be 2 30 seconds. So again, we're coming back here checking these seals and this wheel and these lug nuts. So what we're gonna do is lift under here. I'm gonna talk about the grease points a little bit when we take it up on the lift. And also, I wanna come back up here inside the truck And when we come inside the truck, we want to make sure all our equipment on the inside of this truck as well is running efficiently how it's supposed to. And that will be all these our dash with warning our driver any type of issues, and just the normal stuff that you do in any vehicle. You know, how much gas you got, you're knowing your speed, your windshield wipers, all the stuff that's keeping the driver aware of what's going on with the vehicle. We would also check our clutch adjustments. Okay, make sure our transmission shifter is going through the gears properly. Okay, we make sure our clutch, like I said, our clutch is engaging. So we bring it all the way to the floor, and we make sure we're getting a half inch there. And if we're not, we need a clutch adjustment. So I'm gonna come back down, lift the truck up. So now I'm gonna come up under the truck. Talk about some of these grease points, as I said before, right here. You have what is the kingpin here, and you have a spindle that is the grease point right there, and the drag link. All those are grease points right here. And you connect in here with the pitman arm as well, grease point. We want to check our axle as well. We want to make sure that's not heavily corroded with rust. Look at these bolts here. They're heavily corroded with, it could be a combination of rust and dirt, you know, but it's heavily corroded. That's out of service. So that's the reason for the R checks here, because these are critical components here. We want to make sure that our truck is serviceable when it's on the highway. And we're going to make sure it's serviceable before it leaves the garage. So we come back to the other side and do the same thing. Okay, we'll come back here, we're looking at our frame, making sure our frame is not bent. We're looking at our throwout bearing here. As I said again, we want to make sure it's not, our clutch is not out of adjustment. If it is, it needs to be brought back in adjustment. So we're coming back here looking for any loose hoses, anything broken, anything bent, any air hoses if it's equipped. We're looking at our transmission right here, making sure all our bolts are in place. This is the transmission. So we're going back to the back, and from the transmission will bring us to our drive shaft. So we're looking at, we got grease points on our drive shaft here at the end of the transmission, and also checking for play, which we will raise up on right here. And what it is what it's called right here, the universal joint. That universal joint has over time will wear. Okay, we got our cables right here to make sure that cable is connected properly. Like I said, anything that is out of place, this is a visual inspection, and anything that needs to be paid attention to needs to be done immediately. Coming back to the end here, our drive shaft itself. Okay, make sure it's not damaged, making sure it's not bent. And we'll come back to the end here when it meets the differential. We have more universal joints, and we have grease points here in the back. And we will come back here, looking back here at our bolts again on our axle here, make sure our bolts are not heavily corroded, making sure back here on the inside of our wheel here that our bolts are intact, are in place. And we would come over to the other side and do the other side and do the same exact thing. So and while we're doing that, we're making sure all our other equipment works as well too, including lights, hazard lights, as I said before, the windshield wipers, and even just minor stuff. The doors operating properly, fuel, no liquid fuel system, all the major systems, just a visual of all the major systems on this truck. And making sure we hit all our grease points if they have not been greased properly. And we also have intervals when we do this. We have intervals when we're doing this, and following the proper intervals, we'll have this truck always in service. And if something does go out of service, we'll know exactly what it was by properly checking and inspecting what it was. My name is Ronaldo Hall. I'm here at Jones Technical Institute, and that was a brief demo on how to do a minor inspection on a vehicle. I'm here at Jones Technical Institute. Thank you for watching.